2.5 years ago, my wife and I met this girl, and she was cute. And you're already creeped out like, where's this going? We were in this home of this older couple. They were grandparents, and they were emergency foster care providers. And there was this mom, I can't even say what happened in her life, but there was this mom who had really stepped into some trouble, so much so that it put the life of her 6-month-old daughter at risk. And so this girl winds up in this home of this older couple, and they're caring for her, and my wife and I had been praying and talking honestly since the first conversation we ever had together 15 years ago. And we were considering adopting this 6-month-old little girl. And my wife is blonde hair, blue-eyed. My firstborn son, blonde hair, blue-eyed. My second-born son, blonde hair, blue-eyed. And I was kind of bummed. I'm like, dude, I got the dominant genes. Why am I not winning this battle? And so I was pumped, and this is terrible. This is self-absorption at the max. But I was most pleased to find out that this little girl had curly brown hair and brown eyes. I was like, that's my girl. And so we met her that day, and the rules were for the course we were on is that we had to wait a day and go home and think about it and then go back and pick her up. And it was, oh my gosh, it killed us to have to leave her that day. But she was in a wonderful home, and so we went home with our 2 boys, and we spent the night in bed, not sleeping, and not that either, but just thinking and like praying through. How'd you not get that earlier? and praying through what our lives were about to become through the course of adoption. And we just, to be honest, I mean, one look and we fell in love with this girl, but it was amazing because before that, my wife and I both were in love with the idea of adoption. We were in love with the idea of rescue, right? And I've got Bible reasons for it. We're at a Bible, I can give you Bible reasons for it. Luke 15. Jesus sits down and he tells 2 stories. He tells the story of a dude who's got 100 sheep, okay? But right now, probably very few of us in this room would be thrilled if we had 100 sheep. Let's pretend that you collect music though, okay? And you don't collect CDs because those are like so 90s. You collect vinyl, and you've got a record collection, all right? Yeah. Anyone here? Never mind. And we don't got time. I need to be done early. You collect records, and you've been saving, and you buy nice records, and you've got them alphabetized by, gender and value, and you know your record collection, okay? You know it, and some of your favorites are them Beatle records, okay? And you're like, oh, those are gonna be worth bank someday, pay off my student loans. No, they're not. Nothing will. And And one day you're leafing through your collection and you're missing one. And you're like, oh, heck no, no, I do not miss my vinyl. And you go looking around and you talk to your roommate who wakes up at 11:15 every day and you're shaking him, you're like, where's my record? And he looks at you and he's like, I'm not scared of you, I don't have it. And you look and you look and you look in your car, which would be a terrible place to leave vinyl. Please don't ever do that. And you look and you look and you look and look, and then you find it and you're so pumped. Because normally having 99 vinyl records of value would be a cool thing. It's not cool if you used to have 100. Jesus tells a second story of rescue, and it's this girl, and she's got money. If I have learned something about girls, you do not get between a girl and her shopping money. And she's got some silver coins. Let's just say it this way, though, for the sake of brevity. She's got $10, $100 bills. She's graduating from Biola, and she got gift cards, and she's got cash money, and she's gonna go, and she knows she should spend it on something like worthwhile, but man, new jeans are calling to this girl. And so she lays them out in her dorm room, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A lot of jeans. Or 2 really nice pairs. And then she goes, down the hall to talk to her girlfriends, and she comes back in, and she's about to go to bed, and she's just gonna kiss them goodnight. And she goes back through, and she's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, normally, you would all be thrilled if you had $900, but it sucks when you used to have 1,000. And so she is stressing, and she's looking, and she's calling, and she's waking up her roommate, and she's like, where's my money? And your roommate looks at her, she's like, I ain't got your money. And she's looking, and she's looking, and she's down the hall and back the hall, and Facebook status, please pray for me because I just need God to move right now. Jehovah Jireh, and she finds that last $100, and she's like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. God, thank you for speaking out of the silence and into my life. She's so excited. These two stories in Scripture have always been taught to us, always been put forth as this demonstration that God is a God of rescue, that he loves to go find things that are lost and bring them back. And so we decide to bring this girl home. And she's cute, and she's cuddly, and she's like everything that, she was a dream for us. And my wife's favorite thing is to make people feel comfortable. She loves to make people feel like they're valued and important. And one of the ways she does that is through the ministry of IKEA and decoration and room design. And so she had this little girl's room set up, guys, months before we met her. Months. And the only piece that was missing was her name on the wall. And when we learned her name, my wife drove from meeting her to, Hobby Lobby or whatever, and bought some letters and painted them, made it super cute and put it on the wall. My favorite piece of that room, though, it came from actually a girl that I know from church. She's a good friend. And as a high schooler, she was raped and got pregnant, and she had to put her son up for adoption because, she didn't have the ability to be a mother to him at the time. And when she learned we were adopting, she brought over a bunch of gifts because her heart obviously is connected to that. And she brought over this sign. And, it's tchotchke, it's cheesy, it's schmaltzy, whatever. But it painted on it, it says, my prince has come. His name is Daddy. And that goes, boom, up in her room. And I was so proud. I was just I felt like I was stepping into what God had for us, And it was joyful too. Babies, other than the poop thing, they're really cute. And they're joyful, and it's wonderful. And time went by, and over a year, and we're raising this girl, teaching her how to crawl, teaching her how to walk, teaching her how to eat, teaching her how to say, no, mommy, I want daddy. And running parallel tracks with our investment in this girl is Birth Mom. And Birth Mom, in the path she was on, the county had assigned her a number of checkpoints, a number of goals that she needed to pursue. And rehabilitation and parenting classes and job training and all that stuff. And as faithful as we were to this baby, she was faithful in the classes. And every so often we'd go into court and check up on legal process and, working towards adoption. And towards the end of a year, Wendy and I just started to know that something was going wrong. And I don't know if any of you guys are from parts of the country where tornadoes hit. And you can tell before it hits that something's going on. Long before you get a notification or a media or anything, you just know. It's just weird. And it just got weird for us. And one day we showed up in court, and a judge was reviewing the case, and and he looks at the progress Mom has made. And one morning I woke up with the daughter. By lunch I was told that my daughter was leaving, and by dinner we had packed up her room, moved her out, and dropped her off at some Section 8 housing to move back in with Birth Mom. And it was hard handing her over, and I am an arrogant, egotistical jerk, but I don't suppose to be so arrogant as to ever say she was my daughter, because I know she wasn't. But you can't step into that if you don't love them like they are, And I got back home, and man, it just punched me in the gut, that sign up in a room. Room was empty. Clothes are gone. The girl is gone. And the sign is there. My prince has come. And his name is Daddy. And I was just like, oh. Jesus tells another story in that same chapter, Luke 15, And it's a story that's different. I mean, everyone says it's the same story. It's a different story. It's a story about a daddy. And he's got these kids, and one's a knucklehead, and he's a putz, and whatever phrase you want to use that's chapel appropriate. This kid is just a punk, man. And then he's got another kid, and he's a good kid. He's a school kid. He's a super spiritual kid, and he's a good kid. And the punk comes up to him one day, and he says, Dad, you know what I really want from you more than anything is your money. Because I am so done with you and this, and I wish I could just leave. And so he gets the money from the dad, and he just bolts, and he's gone. And he doesn't even, it's not like he even takes his dad, let's pretend your dad is awesome. And maybe for some of you he is. We got to pretend hard with my dad, but for you maybe it's easy. And your dad is a businessman, okay? And he works someplace important and nice, much better than Victorville, California. And he makes investments, and he has employees, and he's worked hard, and he started off as this young kid, and he's grown, and he's grown, and he's grown, and now he's got this empire that not only provides for his family, but for workers as well. And I could maybe see this story being different if the kid wants that, if he wants to be his dad, and he says, give me the money so that I can just go, and I need to start on my own, Dad. I need to stop living in your shadow. I need to stop being a leech that just sucks the blood out of your income. I want to be my own man. But he doesn't even do that. I mean, honestly, I would love to use terminology to describe him for what he is. But he's a schmuck, and he takes his dad's money and he bolts to Vegas, and he goes clubbing, and he rents cars that he can't afford to buy, and he starts hanging with women who are interested in his pocketbook. And he thinks that he is incredible, and he's awesome, and he blows through the money. And he's become bankrupt, and he's become worthless. And in one day, a father went from having an intact household to losing some of his fortune and having an empty room. And I can't imagine anything other happening than this son bolts and leaves, and the father goes into the room after he leaves, and his head's got to be spinning. What just happened? Why is he gone? Why was his stuff packed? Why did the judge give away my daughter? And the father loses something just like you lost your record or you lost your shopping money. But the story's different than those two, I think. And it's different because, if you lost a record, you would be pumped to find it because it has value. If you lost some money, you would be pumped to find it because it has value. If you lost a sheep, in Jesus' day, that was cash money. You made your living off of sheep. And obviously, if you lost a shekel or whatever Bible-y phrase you want to use for money, obviously you would have lost something of value. What does the son become in the story? Jesus goes out of his way to describe that the son had become worthless. 7 weeks ago, and let me say this, it's been 2.5 years since we lost a daughter. We waited a year, and we were a little confused. I would go to this conference if I could, because for a while they were very confused. God, we were pursuing adoption. God, we were caring for the orphan. God, why? We waited a year, and we decided we were going to sign up again because we're stupid like that. And we're like, well, it would suck worse than losing one daughter is if we went for it and lost two. Let's go for it again. And so my 2 boys and my wife and I drive to this house. This is funny. I got a speeding ticket in front of the house. So embarrassing. And we pick up this other little girl. We go in the house, same situation, older couple, taking care of emergency foster kids. And I walk in, and she's blonde hair, blue-eyed. I'm like, oh, come on. But we go in and we pick her up, and she's been with us for, I don't know, a year and a half now. Her name is Evangeline because she's become our good news, you know. And she's gorgeous. She is, oh my gosh. She's diva plus. She's the baby, and she, okay. That's okay. And so our family's intact now. You know, God is, taken and God is given. And 7 weeks ago, my wife gets this phone call. And it's birth mom. And birth mom has stepped into a pile of buffalo dung again. And Alyssa is back in the foster care system. And I was in Costco eating the cheapest lunch in town, $1.50, hot dog and a Coke. Good for your budget, terrible for your waistline. And sitting with Matt, and my wife calls me sobbing because we didn't move on. And she's bawling, and she says, Alyssa has been taken out of the home. Her mom's in a hospital, and she's in foster care somewhere. Tim, what do we do? And what do you think in that moment? Like, you took everything from us, Mom. We were on track to do the right thing. And you stepped in your weakness, and some judge rolled the dice on you, and it turned out you weren't strong enough. Thanks for ripping everything away from us and leaving me standing on a porch while you ran off to Vegas and gambled away everything that we had. And so I'm thinking, in Costco, of all places, what good comes in the Costco food court? Nothing. And I'm thinking, okay, God, no. No. Like, God, no. Do you remember my heart, God? When I had to drive for an hour knowing that my daughter was dead to me. And I had to hand her over to Section 8 housing in a neighborhood I was scared to pull my kids into. And I'm gonna leave her there, God? No. God, what about my boys? What about my 4-year-old son who didn't understand why we had a sister and lost one? God, what about my wife? I can't fix this in her. God, I have to trust you with her heart, and it's been a long 2.5 years. God, I need to protect my wife, right? And I'm just spinning and spinning and spinning. Like, crazy things happen in Christian dorms. Stupid things happen in Christian college dorms. Man, my buddy came home. He played forward on our basketball team. Oh, your basketball team's not a real basketball team. Shut up. He was a bigger human than I was. That's all I'm saying right now. And he's gone all summer. He's part of one of the traveling teams, and he comes back. Ha, 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 this would be super funny. If he gets back to his roommate, Tim, and he wakes him up at 4 a.m. with a metal pellet gun to his head. Ha, 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 ha. And I'm laying in my bed, face down, sleeping at 4 o'clock, which normal people do, and Dave Fennell wakes me up, covering my throat, laying on my back, pistol to my temple. And let me tell you, I do not care if you think you missed a test or something and you wake up fast. You have never woken up fast. I woke up fast that day. And mind spinning. Guess how many options I had? Friggin' none, okay? None. Only other time in my life I can even compare to what was happening in Costco that day. Mind spinning. And I remember the stinking end of the story, that this worthless son has enough common sense to think, you know what I should do? I should go home to my dad. And so he gets a bus ticket, and he winds up coming back to his dad's ranch. And the way Jesus tells the story is that dad was watching for his worthless son. The first two stories are not like the third story. The first two stories are a contrast because the Pharisees wanted to know why Jesus was hanging out with perverts and sinners. He says, you want to know why? Let me tell you some stories. Story number one, a dude loses a sheep and he finds it. They're like, no doy, Jesus, because they said that then. It's Hebrew. Doy is a Hebrew word. No doy, Jesus. Sheep have value, and if you lost one, you find one. He's like, yeah, you're probably right. Because Jesus was chill like that, and he said probably. And he says, let me tell you another story. This woman loses some money and she finds it, and they're like, no doy, Jesus, you lose something of value, you find it. And he's like, yeah, probably. Let me tell you another story about a dad whose son dishonors him, shreds his life, leaves him, loses his value, winds up working where he should not, and then comes crawling home. God is like that father who sees his son and covers him at his expense. And so I'm thinking in Costco, and I think, God, bring her home. And so I hop on phones and I'm calling Barstow, I'm calling San Bernardino, I'm calling Riverside, I'm calling people. Where is my daughter? And within a matter of days, the papa bear in me and the mama bear in my wife went and picked that little girl up. She's 4 years old now, and she's back home. And God has done a marvelous work in our lives. And she's back in her home, and the sign is up in her room again. My prince has come back to me, and his name is Daddy. And the hero in my story today, guys, is not me. Because I only want to love things of value. I only want to find the sheep or the coin or the record. But God is bigger than. He loves things which have lost their value. What are you willing to put a sign up over? What are you willing to say, God, I need to stop loving like everyone else. I need to love like you. We're trying to get mom in church. I'm not mad at her. She needs Jesus bad. And so Mother's Day, my wife and I are going to drive up. We're going to visit her. We're going to give her some gifts. It'll be at our expense, but it'll be worth it. Because the sign is back up in my daughter's room. It's just that Jesus has a sign up over me too. God will call you to love someone at your expense.
We hope you enjoyed this message. Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Learn more at biola.edu.